Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Writers. I'm Bill Newell here on MSONewsports.com. And joining us here, Nick Kukuru, Gloucester Times, Nick Giannino, and Matt Williams of the Salem News. So, gentlemen, welcome. Good to see you here.
Hey, Bill.
I'm a little blurry. I don't feel that bad, but
it was fine a second ago. There we go.
I know. There we go. I guess I tried to clean it and I made it a little bit worse. That's never happened to me before. Okay. So, gentlemen, let's begin. Let's knock out a few things underway here. We got a couple of topics to get to today. First of all, high school football practices and all sports practices are underway this week. So, any particular notes from the fall sports so far to share with us, and we can go to our other topics.
I'm heading down to Gloucester tonight, so I'm going to see what they're up to. They're hitting for the first time today, so it's always an interesting practice to head down to. I like to head down to, the first day of double sessions I feel like first couple of days are more like logistical stuff. They're lining up correctly. They're refreshing. I like to go down when they're kind of getting to the meat and potatoes, which is today. They started, Monday. They started 10 in the morning, so I'll be heading down around 6 o'clock to see what the first day was like.
So just for a note, we're recording this on Monday afternoon to post on Tuesday at the salemnews.com, Gloucester Times, and also at msonewsports.com. Yeah, that all makes sense. A little early to talk really about football. We won't go into that too much this week. We'll save some of that for some future shows. But it's good. All the soccers, the field hockeys, they're all out and practicing as of this week.
Of course, the very first day that it rains is the first day everybody's praying for rain for a month, and then as soon as practice starts, it starts raining, right? It's like New England weather's always got a trick to play on you, it seems.
Yeah, I was going to go to the beach today for the first time. I don't know. My timing must be off, huh?
First time? Where you been all summer long?
No, I'm just kidding you. No, I've been to the beach. No. It's a long way to go for not much of a laugh. I get it. Okay, so gentlemen, let's begin with some baseball talk here. North Shore Baseball League and the Intertown League wrapped up their seasons with their championship series, with Hamilton winning the Intertown League and the Beverly Rex winning the North Shore Baseball League title in their championship series. So I know you guys covered some of those games. So I don't know, where do you want to begin? North Shore Intertown League first? Let's do it that way. Intertown League first.
Sure.
Yeah, Hamilton Generals was first time since 1991 they won, and yeah, I mean, good for them. They totally earned it. I think they went 6-1 in the 5-1 in the postseason. They only lost to Rusty Tucker last Wednesday, but they kind of shelled everybody else they faced. That lineup is tough to deal with, especially you have Frayne and Wilachowski in the middle there. They're two of the better run producers in the ITL, and they got it done. I think they scored double-digit runs in their last two wins, including a 20 spot last Saturday in Game 2. And they got that 2-0 lead, and it's tough to come back from down 2-0. They took care of it in 4 games.
Yeah, that game Saturday, they won Game 4, 11-1, but I mean it was only I think 4-1, and going into the 5th or 6th, and they scored 3 each. So they piled on some runs there at the end, but that game was a little closer than it appeared. And, they've been close the past couple of years, kind of knocking at the door. So for them to break through and finally win one, I think is good for them. I mean, they've really been working hard to keep kids in town and keep guys playing, not going to other leagues. I mean, you see their roster. There's some guys that play on some other teams, but, at the same time, I mean, it's pretty cool. You look on their website and they got champions listed all the way back to 1932, and Hamilton won it in 32 and 1950, and not very often since. So they have all the champions listed there from 74 on, and so it's an old league, and nice to see it still going, and guys just having fun and playing baseball. I mean, that's the idea of these summer leagues. It's everybody just looking to have a good time and compete hard. And, for Hamilton, I mean, it's just so interesting, such a mix. And we'll talk about it with the North Shore League too, but it's such a mix of young guys and older guys. And it's something that you certainly don't see in high school, and you don't even really see in the pros that often because the careers are so short. I mean, you've got guys that are fresh out of high school, playing right next to, in some cases, their varsity assistant or head coach. And so those kind of connections between old people and young people sort of bridging the gap generationally. I mean, that's very unique, I think, to these two summer leagues, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is big time. Hamilton has that nice, yeah, that nice balance you mentioned. Manchester, the Mariners, they're kind of. I know Rusty Tucker's kind of the headliner. He's the one of the the big veterans of the league, but their lineup is kind of. They're getting a lot of those kids from the 2019 Manchester Essex state finalist team, state championship team. So that's kind of the meat of their order, and they're about 20 years old right now. So they're only going to be getting better as it goes. And the league's in a good spot right now. I mean, I've been covering it since 2007, and this is only the third time since then that since I've been covering it, where the Mariners or the Rockport Townies haven't won. So I think the Mariners they've each won. I think the Mariners won 6 times, the Townies 5 times in the years that I've been covering the league. So I mean, it's but it's in a pretty good shape right now. The Raleigh Rams are right there too. The Hamilton Generals and the Mariners are all pretty evenly matched. It's kind of anybody's game between those three. And while Rockport, I kind of put them a little bit below those three teams. They're right there too. They're not very, they're not far behind. They're capable of beating any of those teams as well.
Yeah, Raleigh top seed in the regular season, so they're going to be right there, in the
Mhm.
long run, certainly. And that's kind of where Hamilton has been. They've been the top seed a couple of times and had to learn how to grind through the playoffs and kind of take advantage and stuff. So you figure Rowley's probably that up and coming team that maybe learn some lessons this year and will come back even stronger next year. So I agree. Yeah, nice to see some unpredictability. There was quite a long time there where the ITL was kind of like, well, it's going to be just the Cape Ann teams there at the end. No need to pay attention to that. So it's nice that there's a little bit more competition there now.
All right. How about the North Shore Baseball League, won by the Beverly Rex on Friday night, I guess it was, over the Peabody champs and champions. And Matt, maybe you want to respond to that, or
Sure, yeah, pretty similar deal there. I mean, Beverly was the 6th seed out of 8, and there's more than 8 in the league, obviously, but the 8 that made the playoffs, they were the 6th seed. They beat they beat the 3 seed Kingston, the 6-time defending champs in the first round, and they beat the top seed Phillies in the second round. Fell behind 2 games to none and won 3 straight. The third game of that series was scoreless into the 11th inning. So, I mean, they very easily could have been swept out of there by the Phillies, but Mike Davis, the old Salem State MVP standout guy, hits a home run late in the game in the 11th inning to win that. And then they kind of went on a Cinderella run from there, won 2 in a row and beat the champions 4-2. So, I mean, from the 6th seed, they went through the top 3 seeds, 1, 2, and 3 to win it all. And, credit to them. I mean, and that's another example of what we were just talking about. I think from talking to some of their older guys, they won the championship back in 2016 and then kind of had taken a few steps back, missed the playoffs entirely last summer. And really they said, well, we got to get some young guys in here because our team is, getting a little bit old and the young guys we have aren't, helping us as much. And they hit up that Beverly Salem World Series team from last year. They got 3 or 4 young pitchers from that team to kind of supplement the team, Nick McIntyre and Eric DePiro and Jake Miano, and they all kind of came in and really buoyed things. They were really lucky to have the head coach of Pentucket, Kevin Murray, catch for them. He caught every game in the playoffs, which, as we know, the North Shore League plays almost every day, and the finals is best of 7. So, I mean, they played 6, 11, 12, 13 playoff games, and he caught them all. And so that takes a lot of work. They were very effusive in their praise of Kevin to help them. And at the same time, you got to feel for champions. They've been the runners up now 6 times in the last 9 years, and I think 7 times overall since their last title back in 2011. So those guys are always right there, and they just can't seem to catch a break in the finals. They had some really tough injuries. The pub has done a phenomenal job with their young players. I was really impressed with Danvers native Nolan Hills this summer. He plays at, I believe it's Framingham State, and I'll have to apologize if it's Fitchburg, but it's one of the F states that he plays at. Had a nice freshman season there and had a tremendous summer. If he's not the rookie of the year in the league, I don't know who would be. And they also picked up DJ Pacheco from St. John's Prep. He had a great season for Richmond, had a great summer for champions, but ended up missing the finals with an injury. And 2 of their pitchers missed the finals with an injury as well. So unfortunately for them, kind of just bad timing. Beverly was hot at the right time of the year, and Peabody ran into some injury trouble. But obviously, just like the ITL, the camaraderie in the North Shore League is so amazing. And I mean, I think about like potentially just in that game, you had Kevin Murray, a head coach. On the other side, Mike Giardi and John Cahill, head coaches. Matt Mello for the Rex has aspirations to potentially be a varsity head coach one day. So just a lot of baseball knowledge on that diamond and all across that league. And, that's got to be pretty cool there's a couple of Beverly guys that played for Cahill that play for Peabody. And then the guys on Beverly, they're going against their head coach, and John Cahill's 44 years old and hit 403 this summer. I mean, the guy is absolutely ageless. One of my buddies on the Beverly team that's my age, he had one at bat. He said he was sore for a week, and John's older than us. And he plays the whole season and hits over 400. I really have no idea how he still does it, but God bless him.
Is there a 2 week? Are there 2 weeks in a row, or at least a week in a row, where Mike Giardi is not coaching? I don't think there is. No, seriously.
You mean the whole season? No,
the whole year. So. The whole year.
Yeah.
When is
because now right. I mean in fact, game 6 of the North Shore League Finals was Friday night, and the first day of football was Friday. So he was at the turf with Coach Rudloff on Friday morning, getting his new quarterback ready for the season, and then spent the night, over at Cooney Field trying to extend the North Shore League to a game 7. So I don't think that there are 2 weeks during the year when he's not doing something. He does not get a break, that man.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
And the question is, does Al and Mom, do they ever skip a game either? I don't think they do. I see them everywhere.
You got to, that's elder abuse for Mike to put his parents through that. I mean, being an elder now myself, I get that. You know what I mean? That's not fair,
I
Mike.
I think if he took a break, they would be mad at him because they wouldn't have anywhere to go. I think they just love going so much that's like their favorite part of their day sometimes.
Well, it took us about 15 minutes to go off track a little bit here, but that we did it. We got it. Okay.
We did. I think, I feel bad for the umpires sometimes. They somebody's screaming and yelling about a call, and you figure it must be the player's mom, and you turn around and no, it's one of the Giardis. They get more upset than some of the parents do sometimes. And not for nothing, but everything that Al's been through over the years, usually he's right.
Well, I've never witnessed that myself, Matt. The Giardis doing that. I've never seen that myself.
Well, so. I've never witnessed them do it uncalled for. Let's
okay.
Say
all right.
Usually
what's
it's justified.
What's the story behind Pub? How did they get that nickname, PBD Champions?
The champion. So the former manager before Mike was Phil Mitchell, who owns the PBD Champions, the bar down there on Foster Street in Peabody. So they're the PBD Champions because that's the name of the pub. And so they just call them Pub for short.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, Nick, let's go to golf. What do you got for us?
Yeah, sure. We had, we'll start off with the North Shore Amateur, the annual event over at Far Corner. The old late owner, Bill Flynn, founded that tournament back in 1975. So they've been going 47 years strong. It's now run by Bob Flynn, the current owner, son of Bill. And yeah, another good year for it. They had good weather this year. No rain. A lot of times that comes into play. But the 2-day tournament, and George Zelotis, kind of a familiar name, used to golf at the Prep years ago. I think he's about 36 now, still lives in the area. He came out on top back-to-back even par rounds and ended up taking the title by 1 stroke. So there was some drama on, Wednesday afternoon last week for the finish of that, because he did have a bogey putt on 17 and 18 that could have cost him, and he thought it did at first, and then they had to double check the scorecard, and it turns out he was one better. So congratulations to George. He kind of took some time away from golf, and now he's back playing competitively. He was playing in some of the mass golf stuff this summer, the amateur circuit, and he's been playing some really good golf. So it's nice to see him back out there, and maybe we'll see some more of him as the season wraps up and heading into next year. So that was another good tournament there, good turnout, and the course was in great shape, considering the weather with the lack of rain. All these courses around the North Shore and beyond are just really dry. It's tough to keep the fairways green, but, yeah, did a really nice job at the greens, and nobody was complaining about the conditions. That's for sure. It made things more difficult, if anything, because the ball was skipping along the fairway. It was tough to hold it. But another good tournament there. And then as that was going on, we also had the U.S. Amateur, which was televised on the Golf Channel. And we had Chris Franco, another familiar name, another St. John's Prep guy. Finished up his career. He was at URI for 4 years and then a graduate year at Louisville. And he got into the amateur as an alternate. He was the first alternate at his qualifying site out in Pittsfield, Mass. And one of his former teammates from Louisville actually was in that same qualifier and had beat out Franco for one of those, original spots. And turns out he earned exemption into the U.S. Amateur through a different tournament. So that opened up another slot, and Chris slid in, and Chris ended up making a deeper run than his teammate. And that teammate ended up caddying for him. So that was pretty cool. Chris had a great outing, his first U.S. Amateur. He was the day one leader in stroke play. And this is a tournament with golfers, from across the world, not just this country. And there was over 300 golfers. He was in first place after the first day, 3 under par round. Ended up getting into match play after 2 days of stroke play, won his first match play round, and ultimately ended up losing in the round of 32 to a 15-year-old from Pennsylvania. I guess somewhat of a prodigy there. He's one of the top-ranked golfers in his class in the country. But nonetheless, great run for Chris. He's going to be going off to the Korn Ferry Q school or qualifying school, which is a long process just to get onto the Korn Ferry Tour, which is, kind of the AAA equivalent for professional golf. It's a developmental league that a lot of pros have played in at one point or the other. So he's going to be trying to make that. I think there's 3 stages of qualifying just to get on the tour. And then, if he ends up getting on the tour, he'll have a chance for the cash payouts each round. I think the purses for the Korn Ferry Tour are going up to $1 million per tournament next year, which is significant. The winner will get somewhere around 150,000 or something like that. So that's a ways down the road, but keep an eye on Franco, see if he can get through qualifying school and maybe make it onto the Korn Ferry Tour. He's been playing some really good golf, and that's a great step for his career if he wants to, one day play on the PGA, or who knows, maybe even the Live Tour at this point. But yeah, some really good stuff for him. Swampscott's Christian Emmerich was also in the U.S. Amateur for the second time, and like I said, just making that tournament is a huge deal. Only like I said, 300 of the top amateur golfers across the country and the rest of the world can qualify. And for Christian to do that twice already before he's even graduated college is pretty awesome. He didn't end up making the match play cut, but he did have a nice round on his second day of stroke play in the low 70s. So good stuff for him. He'll be wrapping up his senior year at Holy Cross this fall. So that kind of sums it up for the golf. We've had a lot of amateur tournaments now in the books for the Mass Golf season. I think there's just a few left. We got the U.S. Senior Amateur Championship coming up for Massachusetts. We got the Mid-Amateur coming up as well, and maybe a few other tournaments to wrap up the season, before it gets too cold here in Massachusetts to play some golf. But it's been a great summer for a lot of locals.
Wow, great stuff. All right. I'm going to jump to the Salem News has been running some cover sports page features on, best of or something along those lines, most quotable interview. In Monday's paper, it was dominating performances by North Shore athletes. And so let's pick on that one if we could. So the Knicks, Matt, what are the dominating performances that you've seen in athletes over the years? Let's just, these two are the bottom 2 guys here were in the paper here today, Monday, but Nick Kukuru, what strikes you as a dominating performance that you've seen?
Putting me on the spot here.
Well, let me actually,
we had to do our research.
Yeah, these guys
stop that for a second. But let's go to Nick Giannino and Matt. Nick, why don't you tell us what you wrote today?
Yeah, sure. It's funny. I actually picked a performance from my time at the New Report Daily News, obviously our sister paper, when I started working there, and I covered Newburyport versus Triton baseball game, and kid for them, Scott Webster. This had to be, what was the date I had on that, Willie? 2016 or 2017, something like that.
I think it was 16.
Yeah, so like 6 years ago, they're playing at that park in Newburyport, right by the high school. It's a short fence, but a tall fence, if I remember correctly. And kid Scott Webster for them, he was somewhat of an ace pitcher, really good hitter back in the day. He had 3 home runs in one game, including a walk-off over the fence and right. So, I mean, I wrote that, it's not very often that guys even get 3 home runs in a season at the high school level. Anytime you're doing that, you're considered to have pretty good power. And I think he finished with 8 home runs as a senior that season, 3 of them coming in that win over Triton. And yeah, it seemed like every time he got to the plate, he was popping one over the fence. So that was pretty special to see. Even just talking, I remember talking with him and the coach after, neither of them had ever been a part of something like that. So that's something that I may never see again. I don't know if Nick or Willie here has covered a baseball game where one kid hits 3 home runs. It was pretty cool.
I have not.
Matt, what was your,
So.
tell us about your, you were also you had a baseball story today as well in Monday's paper, right?
I did, yeah. I mean, I thought about a few different things. I mean, there was a playoff game where Doug Santos had 417 yards from scrimmage, which I think is pretty dominant, kind of insane. A hockey goalie that I thought of had 50 saves in a playoff game and ended up winning by shutout, was pretty good. And I thought of Colin Blackwell's run through the Super 8 his senior year, and especially in the semifinal game that they won 5-1, and he had all 5 points, which is pretty ridiculous. But then I started thinking about Pat Rotolo in 2012 when he was a junior. He threw 3 no-hitters in a period of 4 starts, 2 of them coming in a row, 17 straight hitless innings. And I think by the time the season ended, it was 34 straight scoreless innings, which, I mean, I don't know that you can get more dominant than that. I mean, that is just a run of ridiculousness. I mean, you think about how, I don't want to say easy, because they say the hardest thing to do in sports is hit the baseball, right? But I mean, you can take a check swing and just get a base hit kind of by mistake, right? Like, it's one thing to win games. It's one thing to get a lot of strikeouts. It's one thing to even get shutouts. But to put together 17 straight hitless innings, I mean, and the number of things that can end that in a hurry, again, just a lip on the grass that leads to a tough hop, or just a check swing that, dies at the plate and the catcher can't get to it. I mean, base hits can come in so many different ways, right? Like, a pitcher can give up a hit without even really making a mistake. So to put together 17 straight hitless innings, I mean, I don't think I'll ever see that again. I mean, we've had some ridiculous pitchers on the North Shore over the years. So obviously the Juden and Allison, the 2 Jeffs, and I'm not sure either of them ever did that. So, I mean, just, to see 17 straight hitless innings, I mean, that is, that's something I don't expect to ever see again. That doesn't even happen in softball too often, never mind baseball.
I'll before Nick Kukuru goes, when I saw that, I was thinking of covering a high school football game in Beverly on a Saturday afternoon years ago when Mark Bavaro was playing for Danvers.
Oh,
and he might have taken a swing pass out on the right, a tight end, and ran upfield, and he was just mowing over people. It was like having a high schooler running over kindergartners almost. It was that kind of, the mismatch of size, and he was just rolling over people, going down the sidelines, carrying the football. And that moment still stands out to me in that football game. And I mean, you had the Beverly team that had some good tacklers on it back then, and they were not having any luck stopping this kid who went on to Notre Dame and, of course, the New York Giants. And so
he might be physically the most dominant athlete in North Shore history. Physically, I mean, he's just, I mean, he was that dominant in the NFL, for crying out loud. The video of him carrying all those what was it, the Redskins, I think, or some maybe Cowboys. He was on Monday Night Football. He carried about 9 guys down the field.
Another kid that comes to mind, it goes way back, was Tim Frazier, running back from Lynn Classical High School, who burst on the scene on Thanksgiving Day against English his freshman year, and no one had ever heard of him. No one really had heard of him outside of the classical and English football teams, probably. But he had a huge Thanksgiving, and then after that, his career at classical, because he had strength and he had incredible speed and could you know, he was an incredible running back, Tim Frazier, Frager for Lynn Classical High School. Nick
4,000
Kukuru,
yard runner. He's in the 4,000 yard club in the state, I believe.
yeah, unbelievable runner. Yeah. So I have more years than you guys do on that stuff, but those are all great examples. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple that come to mind. I know it's probably recency bias, but I mean, Vaughn O'Leary for Manchester Essex baseball. I mean, he had 2 straight tournament shutouts, 29 strikeouts, a no hitter, and then a 2-hitter in the in his 2 tournament starts. I think it was a 14 strikeout 2-hitter to win the state title at La Lasher. But the first one that came to my mind, going back to the Gloucester football's run, Paul Ingram's heyday, 2009, just Connor Wrestle against
Oh,
Westford
geez, yeah.
Academy. That was a game where Gloucester was clearly the better team, but it was one of those everything, it was their kind of game where it was the slip up game. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. I believe they lost 4 fumbles, which was, I think they only lost 3 the entire regular season. They lost 4 in that one game, and it was tied late, and they just figured something out that Westford Academy didn't have an answer for Wrestle, and they just kept feeding him the ball. I believe he had 29 carries, 210 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And I think he got the ball about 7 times in a row on the last drive. They scored the winning touchdown with 90 seconds left. But it was, I never seen a player like that when they knew he was getting the ball and he was still, kind of dragging guys and getting yards at will. It was pretty unbelievable.
That is a fantastic example, Nick, right there. That was an unbelievable, not only a 1-game performance, but he had a career kind of like that
Yeah,
too.
he did. He was the all-time leading rusher when he left Gloucester until Christian Sanfilippo recently broke it.
You know what? As far as dominance goes, I think if Mike Grenier was here with us, he would demand that we mention this game. 1995, the season finale for the eventual state champion Salem Witches against Peabody, with their second best player out of the lineup. Scooney scored 53 points in a 77-75 victory. You want to talk about dominance? That's one of the great players in the history of the state, dropping 53 points, not in a blowout, not out there shooting, with a big lead, but a game that his team wins by 2 points, and they needed every one of those 53 points to win. So that's going to be right up there. I'm sure if Mike had a choice on this one, that's something that he would have pulled out for sure.
Yeah, that's a great one too. I was actually away a lot, not covering high school sports then at that time when Scooney was playing. But prior to that, there was Rick Brunson from Salem basketball, which is another great name that was so dominant and just a great athlete for Salem High as well on the basketball court. Well, gentlemen, we're just about out of time. Anything else you want to leave with us before we wrap it up for this week without Phil Stacy?
Well, keep reading the paper this week. We got some more great questions coming at you, and hopefully people are enjoying the process. Obviously these are just our personal choices. We didn't, sit down and make them the votes, the royal thing. This is all just, kind of restricted to what the 4 of us have seen in person. So it's not necessarily like the greatest, but sort of our personal favorites, and it's a lot of fun. So we encourage people to, give us their choices. It's really just to share memories and get ready for the season, just like we just did right here. If you think of other ones, let's get the conversation going on social media, and let's all reminisce together. That makes it fun.
It is funny though how you guys, a lot of you guys went to baseball, because baseball is obviously a sport where individual statistics, it's so obvious in baseball, but of all the other sports, baseball came out for you guys and what some of you guys wrote about, but Connor Russell, that was a great one. I had not heard of that name in a while, so that's great to hear that one. Honestly,
he's a monster.
Exactly. All right, gentlemen, always good talking with you, and we will talk again soon.